Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for tonight's town hall, both here and in Montgomery County Boardroom and online. My name is Laura Brown, and I am here tonight acting simply in the capacity of a resident of Montgomery County who believes that early and frequent engagement with candidates is the best way to ensure our elections serve the interest of the constituents. I would like to offer my thanks to the Montgomery County Democratic Committee, the Montgomery County Republican Committee, and the New River Valley Greens for collectively reserving the room tonight and helping to publicize the event. I would also like to thank the Montgomery County Government Center team for providing this space, technology, and staffing support for this event. And last but not least, thank you to the candidates for agreeing to participate and being here tonight. We are here to give our community a chance to hear directly from the individuals seeking to serve in the important role of Montgomery County Sheriff. Our goal tonight is simple: to create a respectful, informative space where each candidate can share their priorities, explain their approach to public safety, and answer questions that matter to the people of Montgomery County. We ask that everyone in attendance help us to maintain a constructive environment. Please hold any applause and/or reactions so every candidate has an equal opportunity to be heard. We will begin with candidate introductions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves. Following that, there will be a round of prepared questions that each candidate will have an opportunity to answer in turn. We will begin alphabetically with Tim Brown and proceed so that each candidate will have had the opportunity to respond first and last. The time for each candidate's response is capped at 3 minutes. Candidate campaigns have every opportunity to publish well-polished statements on arbitrary topics, including follow-ups to those posed here. The questions that will be posed here tonight were not given to the candidates ahead of time to provide a more human and candid perspective that I hope will help us all to get to know their character better. They did, however, receive 6 general topic areas for these questions beforehand, and the questions follow those topics very closely. We have also collected questions from the in-person audience tonight. The question and answer session will continue as time allows, with selected questions from those continuing to rotate the order of candidate responses. To include the candidates, 2 minutes to offer closing statements. Thank you again for being part of this conversation. Civic participation strengthens our community and democracy, and your presence tonight reflects that. Let's begin by introducing our moderator for this evening, Dr. Warden Reed. Among the many roles in a productive and highly engaged life and career, Dr. Reed is on the Dialogue on Race Steering Committee, where he chairs the law enforcement group, whose mission is to form close and lasting relationships with law enforcement leaders and officers. He is data-driven, holds appreciation for the social sciences, and has dedicated his life to community engagement endeavors. Thank you, audience, for your engagement. Dr. Reed?
Is this on? Okay, good, thank you. Before we begin, let's pause for a moment to honor the life and service of a dedicated law enforcement officer, Carroll County Deputy Sheriff Logan Utt, who gave everything in the line of duty. His commitment to the community reflects a courage and selflessness that deserves our deepest respect. Let us hold in our thoughts his family, his colleagues, and all who feel this loss. Please join me now in a moment of silence. Thank you. Are we going to have the introductions of the individuals?
Introducing first in alphabetical order, Tim Brown.
Before I get started, thank you for giving a moment of silence. We traveled down to the funeral today, and it was a very emotional time, and I appreciate the moment of silence for Logan Nutt. Before I get started, I want to thank the organizers for putting this event together, the people that are attending here tonight, and panel coordinator, Laura Brown, for putting this important event together. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. Let me move it closer to me. Sorry. My name is Tim Brown, and I'm running to be your next sheriff. I was born and raised here in Montgomery County, where I'm raising my family, where I spent my entire law enforcement career. I'm proud to be a small-town country boy. I grew up on the farm, putting up hay, repairing fence, and heading off to football practice. Those experiences taught me value of hard work and personal responsibility. Many people spend their entire life wanting to meet their childhood hero. I had the fortune of growing up with mine. Everyone else knew him as Police Chief Bill Brown, but I simply called him Dad. As a young boy, I watched him put on his uniform every day, but it wasn't the badge that made him special. He taught me that leadership wasn't about authority, it's about service, about earning trust, doing what's right. My parents raised us to see value in people, even when they don't see value in themselves. Those lessons have stayed with me. For the past 26 years, I've proudly served the citizens of Montgomery County through the Christiansburg Police Department. During that time, I've served in numerous leadership roles. Beginning 23 years ago, as a supervisor in patrol, my management leadership roles included professional standards, special operations, criminal investigations, crime prevention. Those experiences have given me a broad understanding of law enforcement and valuable experience in leadership, administration, policy development, accreditation, narcotics enforcement, criminal investigations, and community engagement. My service also extended beyond the Commonwealth or outside the Commonwealth as a master assessor for Virginia law enforcement professional standards, assisting law enforcement agencies across the Commonwealth to achieve and maintain accreditation status. I hold a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Raffer University. I'm a graduate of Professional Executive Leadership School from University of Richmond. I'm a graduate of FBI National Academy, Session 285. I believe public safety is the strongest when law enforcement and community work together. That means building relationships, listening to concerns, partnering with our schools and civic organizations, being present in the communities we serve. I am seeking to become the next sheriff of Montgomery County, simply because I love this community. I believe my education, leadership, experience, advanced training bring a fresh perspective to Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. My campaign motto is simple: a sheriff for us all, because I believe the Sheriff's Office should serve everyone. Public safety is not about politics, it's about people. It's about treating everyone fairly, listening respectfully, and working together to solve problems. Montgomery County is a special place, and thank you for being here, and thank you for your commitment to Montgomery County.
Thank you. Introducing next, candidate Ed Hertling.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Ed Hertling. Thank you so much for coming. Your participation in the electoral process is so important. I believe that the public trust is a precious thing. It takes years to build up, but it can be destroyed in just a matter of moments. The way we build that public trust is through positive interactions with the public. We take our time to make sure that we're engaging properly with the public, that our business leaders know who the deputies are that are coming to answer calls for service at their business. The deputies are getting out of the car and talking to people in a non-enforcement way. These are vital to how we build that relationship with the public, and that's the key part of my campaign, is making sure that we are building those relationships and we're being consistent about it. My background is in investigations. I'm retired from the sheriff's office. I have 27 years of experience. And as captain of investigations, I worked a lot of victim crimes, and that was what our division was primarily about. Taking care of victims is near and dear to my heart. It's important to me, and it was important to the culture of the investigations division that I led. I want to take that feeling of putting victims first and spread that out through the entire department. If you call the sheriff's office for anything, you should know that we're going to be a partner for you and we're going to take care of you and what you need. If we can't specifically help you, we're going to make sure that we find a way to have someone else that has those tools that can help you. You should be able to trust us, and we want to build that trust the entire time. My next point on priority for my campaign is making sure we're protecting the most vulnerable. This means making sure we have well-trained SROs in our schools. They need to be able to form a relationship with the kids at the schools where they can come and give us information if they're having somebody stalk them online or if they're having in an abusive situation. That relationship is key. But that same SRO needs to be able to switch gears and protect those kids from a threat when the threat shows up at the school. And it takes a unique type of person to be able to do that. And it all comes down to training. But the kids aren't the only most vulnerable population we need to protect. We need to make sure we're taking care of our elders. We need to make sure that we're protecting them from fraud cases, both by investigating the cases thoroughly and also doing training to make sure they know what a fraud looks like. But we can extend that beyond just training our senior citizens. We can also train some of the business owners and their employees. So if we train an employee that's a clerk that sells Amazon gift cards, when they see a woman come in that's buying $1,000 worth of Amazon gift cards, they can say, this may not be exactly right, because that's how a lot of the frauds get done, right? And if we provide that training for those folks, it can help stop those frauds before they ever occur. Having a foundation of proactive law enforcement is so important, and the sheriff's office does such a great job with that. We've already got that foundation. We've got a great find work culture at the sheriff's office. But it takes a leader that can direct the deputies to follow those priorities to make sure that they're serving you and the public the best way they possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you. Introducing next candidate Tim Shepard.
I want to apologize right now because I may be too loud for the mic. But ladies and gentlemen, I am ecstatic that this many people came out today. I just want to go ahead and thank everyone, and I want to thank everybody in the Ethernet here that's watching us as they can. My name is Tim Shepard. I am a Montgomery County native, graduated right here at Christiansburg High School. I am a Marine Corps veteran, and I'm proud to say that. I am a Desert Storm veteran, and I am the only candidate that is a military veteran. I wear that with a badge of honor. I can tell you that right now. I have 28 years of law enforcement experience, and in that 28 years, 25 of it was as an instructor with the criminal justice program. I've been trying to teach our upcoming and new officers to be better than they should be and better than they could be. That is my role. I want to be an educator for them and make them the best they can be. But I've did that almost my entire career. For 13 years, I was a supervisor, 12 years with the sheriff's office, 1 year in my current position. And in that time frame, I got the ability to lead by example, show these people how they should be, and do the things that leadership needs to do, the everyday things, such as, the evaluations, helping with the budgets, getting these people ready to move into my position. And that was my goal, to build the next leaders. To be a better candidate for you, I found out I probably needed some college. So 40 years old, I got my first degree, a 2 years associate degree from New River Community College. 3 years later, I got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. And currently, my goal was to run next year. I will have a master's degree in public administration in November. And all of this is hopefully to be a better candidate for you, a better sheriff for you. All right? Throughout my career, I've tried to build a resume that the people would see that I have done everything I can do to be the best person I can be. I tell everyone I can, try to be better today than you were yesterday. And I'm accomplishing that goal. I'm working a full-time job. I'm running a successful campaign here, and I'm taking college classes to be a better person for you. All right? I want you to know that you need a sheriff that is more educated, more knowledgeable, and better prepared to serve the citizens of Montgomery County. If elected as sheriff, I will do that day one. And I want you confident in that. You know, I don't want you to say, was he good enough for someone else? I want this individual to go, is he good enough for me? All right? This position for me, it's not a legacy. I tell everybody this straight up. The sheriff's office is bigger than one man. My legacy is sitting over there in the second row. My kids. That is my legacy. So, Montgomery County deserves leadership. I have a vision for more proactive rather than reactive approach, and I'm hoping to get into that tonight. But if not, I have it on my website and on Facebook. Thank everyone for being here. God bless.
Thank you. Introducing candidate Greg Warden.
Good evening, folks. My name is Greg Warden. I first want to say thank you for everybody up here, and thank you guys for coming tonight. It's hot outside, and you make us put on suits. We love it. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I first want to say I want to express my love to and prayers to the Carroll County Sheriff's Office. They lost a fine young man the other day, and he was a special guy, and I just want to give my thoughts and prayers to them, and if they need anything, I want to let them know that I'm here. I'm a candidate for Montgomery County Sheriff, guys. I've been a lifelong resident myself of Montgomery County. I graduated from Christiansburg High School in 1996. I entered the workforce with a trade right after high school. I've worked many variety roles that you guys work now. I was in restaurant, I've been in retail, I've been in all kinds of things. So I know how you guys work. I know how the common folk work, and I've done it. I still do it to now as we speak. For more than 15 years, I served at the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. This is a great county. During my career, I advanced with the ranks of corporal, sergeant, lieutenant, and I also worked as a programs director, helping inmates participate in design and improve their lives and preparing them for success while they're incarceration and after incarceration. In addition, I served for 3.5 years at New River Valley Regional Jail as a security officer, a field training officer, master jailer, and finally as a transport officer. I assisted with court proceedings, provided support for local courts when needed. Through that role, I helped serve 8 counties and gained valuable experience working alongside multiple jurisdictions. I'm currently served as a corporal with the Roanoke City Sheriff's Office. Throughout my career, I've gained knowledge, training, firsthand experience from working in all these different agencies and communities. I've learned new approaches to helping people and solving problems. I've developed plans for bringing those back to Montgomery County. I'm running for sheriff because I believe it's time for positive change. My priorities include strengthening community engagement and outreach, supporting our schools and students, expanding services and resources for our senior citizens, improving support for deputies and staff, increasing programs and opportunities for inmates, addressing mental health and social services needs, supporting troubled youth, foster families, and disabled kids and youth, reviewing budgets carefully to save you guys money in the long run. I'm committed to providing support and resources to all citizens through new programs, public forums, community initiatives that I will begin immediately as I take office. The future of Montgomery County depends on fresh ideas, strong leadership, active involvement from our citizens. I look forward to working together with you and getting things done for you. I'm proud to be here tonight to answer any questions that you have. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you. I'll pass it back to Dr. Warney Reed for the first question.
We're going to start the questions now, and we're going to start it, as we mentioned earlier, in alphabetical order. So we will start with Mr. Brown. But let me caution you to make sure that you look over every now and then as you give your answers to Ms. Brown. She will hold up how much time you have left in that part of your discussion. Okay, and so we're going to ask each of you the same question, of course, and we're going to go around with that. So the first question is to Mr. Brown. What are the most pressing public safety challenges you see for our county and region in the next 2 to 5 years? And can you offer 1 or 2 concrete examples of how you would address each?
My first concern is that I feel it's a huge priority, and one of the things that I feel that we're facing in this community with law enforcement is the vacancies. I think it's going to be hard to replace. We have a bunch of retirements coming right now. Oh, I'm sorry again. We have a bunch of vacancies. Like, we just retired 5 from our agency. Application pools are low. It's very hard to recruit and get people in here to do the job. And when we do recruit people, they still got to pass the polygraph. So that's hard. Recruiting efforts have been a very hard issue for all departments. We're all hiring from the same pool of people. What I would do is target maybe military veterans getting out to fix that. You got to look at recruiting as an investment, right? You're only getting what you're putting into it. So if you're not putting money into recruiting and going outside the area and targeting colleges and bringing students in, or getting into high schools and engaging in early age to get kids interested in the profession, and I think we're missing out on that. And that's what I would do as sheriff, is go out and target those areas to fill those vacancies. And have a 5-year plan of looking at retirement and forward looking at. A lot of times I think we get behind the curve because we hire somebody, it takes almost a year before they're ready. You know, and you get them in the academy, get them through training, and that's if they make it. If they don't make it, then you start from scratch and you lost that investment. My other thing, I do think that with the meth problem, I worked in narcotics for several years. We chased a lot of one pots, but then that advanced to crystal meth. And I do think it used to be you would do traffic stops and you probably would get maybe pills or something. Now you're getting, when you stop a car, you're getting meth, heroin, and pills in those. I do think one way I would combat that is work with the courts, work with drug court. I'm an advocate of drug court, getting people through there if they are caught with just your normal addict. I think that's important. I was part of drug court when I was in narcotics, the very first class, graduated here. We're able to get a lot of those people clean, so they didn't go back and commit those things to get back into that. I think we need to target the dealers, do more proactive enforcement, getting out and stopping cars and looking for the people that are bringing those narcotics in and harming our community. So, I get those 2 things.
Okay, Mr. Hertling, I can repeat the question if you like. Oh, yes. What are the most pressing public safety challenges you see for our county and region in the next 2 to 5 years? And could you give concrete examples, 1 or 2?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I believe that the most pressing concern is still going to be drug abuse. When you look at the different crimes that occur in Montgomery County, the vast majority of, let's say, property crimes, for example, when you find an offender who had committed that property crime, a lot of times there's a drug angle involved in that. They're either a drug user or they're using the proceeds from the crime to pay for their drug habit. There's a variety of things that lead to that. We've done, so I was captain of investigations at the sheriff's office. We worked very closely with Tim's narcotics unit and did great things. So you hit this problem from both sides. You've got to hit the supply side, and you've got to hit the demand side. On the supply side, proactive enforcement of the law with searching out the drug dealers themselves and figuring out their criminal network and determining how best to take that network apart is how you hit the demand side. And you do that with your relationships with the other departments because the sheriff's office can't do it alone. We worked very closely with Christiansburg, we worked very closely with Blacksburg Police Department to make sure that we're helping each other solve these kinds of drug distribution networks. Had great success. The unit I managed had a great case, a couple of great cases where drugs were being transported in from Georgia, and they were able to identify the entire drug network, and we went after it all at once. We hit all of the major nodes of that drug network all at one time. We even were able to indict the people that were in Georgia that were supplying the drugs. So it was a huge case. The people in Georgia had never set foot in Virginia and were still indicted in Virginia. It was a great success. And when we looked at the property crime numbers immediately after that, the new property crime reports started dropping off. So great success, right? The problem is that new dealers come up. So it's a never-ending process. So we also need to hit that supply side. So with the supply side, Tim is exactly right. Recovery Court is what it's called. Recovery Court is an amazing program. So if you have a person that is involved in drug possession, a deputy arrests that person for drug possession, they can be recommended for Recovery Court, and it is a long-term process. The court can keep them in this process for a year and a half. It depends on how long they need. And as they go through that process, it's the only proven system that I have seen that actually gets people out of the cycle of addiction. A lot of our business is repeat business, right? We have a lot of repeat customers. And if we can stop the cycle of addiction, then we no longer have that person coming in and being arrested again. And they can rebuild their lives. They can get their lives back. And there are some fantastic examples of how people have gone through Recovery Court, graduated, and rebuilt their lives.
Thank you. Mr. Shepherd, want me to repeat the question? Okay.
Well, I hate to parrot here Ed, but I would say our number one concern in Montgomery County is drugs. And then I think our number two concern is drugs. And if you can take a guess, I can tell you what the third one is, which would be drugs. Because we have an active clientele here, and you see it every day, Virginia Tech and Radford University. And it is a prime opportunity for these gangs and these people to come in and try to establish, to sell to these people. So they see it as an opportunity. We need to stop it at the source. You know, Ed touched on it. For me, a proactive approach is going to be the start of that. You know, what I want to do is I want to expand the K-9 program. I've already said that. It's on my Facebook. You know, right now we have one dog at Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, and it does three things. I want a dedicated team of dogs that does one thing. So if I've got two dogs, they're going to do drugs. If I've got a third dog, I want him to do tracking. And if I've got a fourth dog, he will do patrol tactics. Because I want that dog to be the best he can be at his job. Whereas you've got a dog that's trained to do three things. He gets 8 hours of training in 1 month, and he gets 2 hours of this and 2 hours of that. And he's mediocre. It's a mediocre dog that is okay for those three things. I am going to expand that to have a great K-9 program. Right now, I've been talking to people where I can get the dogs potentially donated and all their equipment. I mean, that is a great program, but it goes with my proactive approach. I want to start a traffic division, a dedicated traffic division. Salem has it. 2 to 3 guys, that's all they do. Because I can tell you right now, the way the deputies are, they're chasing this radio. You get a complaint, which is the biggest complaint on any police department, driving, reckless driving, speeding up and down in our neighborhoods. Well, a deputy goes out there and he'll sit there for 15 minutes. And then that radio will go off and he'll leave. And later when his supervisor says, "Did you go out to this neighborhood?" He'll go, "Yep," and you'll never see him again. But what I saw in Salem was these guys were assigned to traffic, and that's what they dealt with. So a dedicated traffic division with the K-9 program should help with this flow. My last thing with that would be I want to make a DUI task force. We had one in Roanoke. All the jurisdictions were involved in it. I was attached to it there at the end of my career with them, with Salem Police Department. And it was amazing. You get a deputy from Christiansburg, Blacksburg, Virginia Tech, and Montgomery County deputy, and you swear them in to give them jurisdiction. And they go combat the problem. Because right now, nobody has an answer to marijuana. No one does. I mean, the deputies don't know how to really test for it when they get somebody pulled over on the side of the road. Okay? I am out of time, so I'm going to stop. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Warden, you want me to repeat the
No,
question?
sir, I'm good, thank you. Going along with these guys, drugs is definitely an issue. My biggest thing is mental health. I currently work on the inside, so I see a lot more mental health than anything. There's little help in Montgomery County for mental health. If we get them while they're incarcerated, to get them back on their medication, to help them out, to get them back in drug reentry programs, get them into, drug rehabs when they get out. This is our biggest problem with inside the facility and also here in Montgomery County. I know in Roanoke City we're having a big mental health problem too, plus also drugs. Another big issue in the county is community engagement. There is none. The sheriff's office has been non-existent for quite so many years. I know down where I'm at, we have 2 to 3 events a month. We do a great job down there trying to get with our homeless, our elderly. We do a lot for our staff. We do special events. We did a senior prom, okay, people 50 and above. We got businesses to donate things. I'm a DJ, by the way, so I actually DJ'd the thing, and it was fantastic. It was a great event. They had a photo booth. I would like to do that here in the county. Also, a big thing for me is traffic as well. I also drive Uber. So if you've been downtown on a Friday or Saturday night when students are in, they are everywhere. I have ways to fix that, that we can work with the town of Blacksburg, also Christiansburg for tech games. Like I said, I know if you don't go to the games, you don't hit Blacksburg or Christiansburg at all. So I have ways that we can close off from Roanoke Street to College Street and kind of let them have a good time. Also, that opens our businesses up for more tax money. You can have special events to get the colleges that we have here to work together, and have some really cool events and bring some nightlife down to Blacksburg or Christiansburg. We need some here too. But we can fix those issues. Another big thing that's coming is homelessness. Down in Roanoke, we have a lot of it. We have a task force too on that. We try to help them out. Believe it or not, Radford also is starting to have some issues. They are flocking. There are some rehab centers in Radford that's releasing them, and they're just kind of sticking around. So in the next 2 to 5 years, Montgomery County could also have some issues with homelessness, and we need to try to tackle that and help that. Kids with disabilities, we need to work with our law enforcement and get some training with that. My son's autistic. We have a lot of people down here that have kids with disabilities. We need to work with our officers to get them trained to do that. That's a big issue in the next 2 to 5 years for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So now we'll have a second round of questions, and we'll start with Mr. Hertling. Okay. And this question is, what specific steps will you take to build trust between the sheriff's office and historically marginalized communities?
Yeah.
And can you share any past experience building that trust?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the last
Can you share any experience you've had building that trust?
Okay. So the public trust is kind of like a piggy bank. As we go through and have positive interactions with people in the public, we put a deposit in that piggy bank. And we hope that we build up enough goodwill with the public that if we do something that requires us to ask, trust us and let the process work, that we're not going to break that piggy bank. The way we do that is through that regular communication with the public. We want to make sure that the deputies, when they get out of their cars and they talk to people, that they're doing that in non-enforcement capacity. We want to make sure that a deputy, when they go out on a call for service, they talk thoroughly with the victim, but then they go to the neighbors and they talk to the neighbors and say, did you see somebody steal this guy's weed eater? All right, that simple act of going door to door and talking to the people in the neighborhood, it seems like it should be a common sense thing for us to be able to follow up on a normal case, but a lot of times it's not getting done. And by doing that, you're building that trust because now all these neighbors know that the sheriff's office cares and we're going to do what we can to make sure that we're taking care of you. As captain of investigations, I preached all the time to my guys to make sure that we're taking care of our victims. We made sure that we were reaching out to them, letting them know what's going on with their cases. We helped them through the court process. The court process can be an intimidating thing for a lot of people. So we want to make sure that people have that partnership and they know that they have a partner in us, that we're going to help them through that process. It's very, very important that those regular communications, those regular contacts build that trust. Now, we also want to do programs because we may not have every opportunity just because somebody's a victim to build that trust. So the Citizens Police Academy is a fantastic way to build that communication. Now, traditionally at the sheriff's office, it's always been filled with the sheriff's office cheerleaders. So these are people that already support what we're doing. Those aren't the people I need in Citizens Academy. I need the people that aren't sure about what we're doing. They have legitimate questions. And I don't want somebody that's going to be ready to go sheriff's office, rah, rah, rah. I want somebody that's going to ask those hard questions, and so we can explain the processes that we use. I was heavily involved in Citizens Academy. I think it was a great program, and it really shows people that exactly why we do what we do. Because let's face it, if the only information you're getting is from the news, you're getting a tiny little soundbite of what we do, and a lot of times there's way more to it than what you're just seeing like that. So those are huge programs for us, and making sure we're doing those things regularly and doing that kind of outreach. So very important. Thank you.
Mr. Shepard?
Well, I think the very first way to start this is make sure that we have an adequate school resource program, because I think that is the key to start with. We've got to get in touch with the children and have a good rapport with that, and then you expand to their families. That is my goal for that, because I feel like that will be a priority, and I've already said it. I said at the GOP, I thought that the sheriff's office is doing a good job right now. I want to make that a better job. And I think getting into these communities with these school resource officers and having these school resource officers not only at the schools but at programs, at ball games. I mean, I can ask, I don't know how many have kids here, but when have you ever seen one at a baseball game, or at a softball game? I want these deputies to go do that. And I've been out of the sheriff's office for 10 years before I went to Salem. I was a lieutenant on the road, and I would tell my guys, hey, there is an Auburn baseball game tonight. Would somebody be seen? Would somebody go out there? I did it myself. When my children were out there, I would try to swing by, because that car and that presence is impressionable. And that is how I thought that we could make an impact. We've got to start with the schools. So starting with the marginalized individuals in our community, this is the easiest way to reach them. This school resource officer can identify possible families that have problems, that have issues. But we need those people that are well-trained and they know what they want to do. Gone are the days that this deputy goes there and he's just retired on duty. He's fed up, he's sick with it, and we stick him out in a school. We saw that in Florida where the actual officer or deputy, did not help, did not care. I would be appalled at that. And I don't want to ever see that in our community. So I want to make sure that our school resource officers are the most trained, are the most dedicated individuals. And that is how we're going to deal with some of our marginalized, because we're going to identify it at that key juncture and start there. That's my goal.
Well, thank you. Okay, Mr. Warden?
I'm good. Thank you. It starts with me. That's how you trust. I got to be the person that you guys want me to be. We got to have open door policies that citizens can come talk to us. We have to have open door policies with our staff so people could come talk to us. Give us ideas, your ideas, deputies' ideas. There might be somebody sitting there thinking, well, we can do something like this, and then it might actually work. Community engagement. Have some fun, okay? We're all not sticks in the mud. I've seen these guys dance, okay? We have to have some fun in here. I mean, if we don't get out and speak with the public, I agree with Tim. You know, go to the ball games. I actually joined the rec center. I was a part of the ball game. I was in the umpires. Okay, so I got to see so many kids. I had a blast. You know, 50% love you, 50% hate you, but guess what? We're all in the same field together. It was great. Community engagement is how you're going to earn trust. Is how I'm going to earn trust with you. My office will be open. My deputies will be available. Businesses, if you have ideas, please come talk to us. That's the way you earn trust. You're going to see me. I'm going to walk in your business. I love small business. I love big business. But I love the small businesses more. I'll come eat at your restaurant. I'll come buy my wife something very nice at one of your stores. I'll come just talk to you. I'll buy you a cup of coffee. I'll buy you a soft drink, whatever. That's how you earn trust. I want you to see me and my deputies. I want to just be a part of this community. We got a great community. We got Rafford, we got New River, we got Virginia Tech here. We don't utilize it enough. Even the sheriff's office don't utilize it enough. We have so many very good people in this area that we all could get along and trust each other. We're all family. If you see my Facebook page, every time I post anything on my Facebook, it's hello fam, because you are my family. I don't want nobody to fail in this area. I'm not going to fail for you. I don't want you guys to fail for me. I don't want anybody to fail. Our government leaders, anybody. So the open engagement, the community, that's how we're going to trust each other. I'm available anytime. I'll answer any question, any point, anytime that you ask me something. And I'm going to answer it truthfully. Now, if you don't want to know the truth, don't ask me, because I'm very honest. I tell on myself all the time. You can ask my wife, you can ask my kids. If I did something, oh yeah, I messed up, I tell myself the most about anything. But community engagement is the only way, not the only way, but it is the way that we will get trust back in the sheriff's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
Organizational philosophy. And when you're pushing down your philosophy and building your culture within your organization, the victims and the people need to be first. We're here for the public. I think it starts with picking solid mentors. I was fortunate when I started off in law enforcement, I had some senior officers that work for you. You know, when you're fresh and green out, all you want to do is run the roads and stop cars, but it's more than that. It's getting out in the public, learning how to actually talk to people. How many people's been stopped here? Right? I've been pulled over quite a bit. I got quite a lead foot. But the thing you will remember most about that encounter ain't where you got stopped or what you got stopped for. It's you're going to remember how you were treated, right? So if I think that's the most important part when you get new officers out here, to treat people as human. You don't have to be a robot, you know, because I do think we solve a lot of crimes through cooperation with victims. But you got to break that barrier where they see us as humans and just not someone here with authority. The other thing is outreach programs. I piggyback on some of these guys. Getting out into schools is huge. We need to impact the schools with strong school resource officers. We also need to be at public events, you know, to break the barrier that we're not there just to do enforcement all the time. If we get complaints, actually go to people's houses and meet with them. You know, see what the problems are, get in those neighborhoods. Our best eyes are you all when crime is happening. We need that positive engagement from you all. But I also think with transparency is huge. I think getting out and giving reports, letting how trends are going with crimes. Also, when we do things right, we should put that out to you. But when we do things wrong in law enforcement, we need to get ahead of it and let you know that we're going to be accountable. I'm big on accountability, and I think you as citizens need to hold the sheriff accountable. And that's why we sit in these jobs, administrative jobs. Everybody wants to be the sheriff, but it comes with a heavy burden, and it's when things go wrong. And you got to have somebody in there confident that's going to be honest with you and tell you and admit, yeah, we screwed this up. And I think that's how you build trust. And when you have that type of organization, people are more apt to come in, be approachable, just because I don't consider myself better than anybody else. And I think that's important when you're in uniform. You need to be able to relate to people, meet them where they're at. We're usually meeting people at the worst time of their life when we meet them. We need to have compassion, be empathy. So show that we're there to help them. And then I think that's most important when got the 20 seconds hit on me. I'm sorry. And then the last thing I want to talk about is having strong policies. I think when you have strong policies and you give your people confidence when they have guidelines to go by. So when they do show up to handle something, they can point people in the right direction, give them the right resources, and get the victims the help they need, navigate them through the justice system. And I think you do that just by educating your people.
Okay, thank you. So this is the next round of questions, and we'll start with you, Mr. Shepherd. How will you train deputies in de-escalation and crisis intervention, especially for mental health crises? Would you adopt statewide standards or partner with local hospitals?
Well, currently working with a hospital, I see it every day. Right now I am a Carilion police officer. After I retired, that's where I've been, and we see it. And I can tell you right now, the mental health aspect is broken. It is broken across the state of Virginia, and there is no quick fix. We don't see it, but the deputies need to be trained, and they need to get this information to where they can adequately deal with the problems that we have. We depend on the state and these mental health evaluators to do it. And I know you don't know the process, but we see the process. And you walk in and someone's mentally health evaluated, and then this person gets on the phone that evaluated and said, I'm going to go ahead and send them to a mental health facility up to 72 hours. And they get on the phone and they call 54 hospitals. And I'm not exaggerating. They have to call until somebody agrees to take this individual. It is the craziest thing you will ever imagine with the way technology is right now. So that is beyond our control. If I could push for that, I would want to streamline that, because we've seen people with mental health crisis lay in our hospital 24 hours, 48 hours, a whole weekend. And unfortunately, it's not going to be a fix in Montgomery County. It's not going to be a fix in Christiansburg Police Department. It's got to be a state fix. The only thing we can do is try on our part to have the deputies as well trained as they can be. And I am open to any training that they would be willing to give us. We have 2 police academies right here that if we suggest something, they will put it on for us. Right now, I could say I want to go to this school and talk to the police academy, and they go, we'll try to get it done. All we've got to do is get enough people to attend, to have the ability to get an educator there. And it's pretty easy to do. So as sheriff, I would want to drive that. And I would want to, there's no quick fix. I can already tell you that right now. But let's try this. And if it doesn't work, let's move on to the next one. So I really don't know a good concrete answer on that. We try the best we can do. You see what programs are available. You try them. And when it doesn't work, you acknowledge it and you go to the next one. And for me, that's life, We've got to keep trying to be better. As I said earlier, better day to day, better today than we were yesterday. And if this program doesn't work, let's look for one that is. And I'm completely open to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Warden?
I'm good. So there's a lot of mental health training that our officers can do that's around here, also online as well. The CIT program is actually something that we go through at least one time. It's very, very productive with going to these mental health facilities. You have a weeks-long class, and they put you in different scenarios where you get in the mind of somebody that's going through psychosis and things, and they put earbuds in you, and you're hearing voices, and it's a very, very, very good program. I got to do it many, many years ago, but that really helped me as far as mental health. Mental health for officers is also very important. Our officers can't handle people with mental health if they're not well themselves. So I'm a peer team member with the Roanoke City Sheriff's Office. I helped found it as well. So through Virginia Leap, we can make sure that our officers are well at the same time. Because if our officers are well, then the citizens who need mental health will be well as well, and know how to handle themselves. Mental scenarios. I know we do all kinds of trainings with firearms and DTs and defensive tactics and things like that. We can throw scenarios in there during the time that they're there to train our officers and put them in some situations that will deal with some mental health issues. That's something that we can implement and just basically as many mental health classes as we can get. Tim's right. I mean, we do have a mental health issue, and it takes forever when you got to go on a TDO to get that person. You might go to Radford, or you might go all the way to Virginia Beach to take somebody. And these nurses and doctors, and they're trying to get these people help, and sometimes it's virtually impossible. And by that time, you only have a certain amount of hours to find these people help. And if that expires, you got to do it all over again. And he's right with the state and federal. We got to figure out something with the mental health crisis. It doesn't fall. It falls on us mostly because even in jails, because we are becoming mental health hospitals. I see it all the time. I know I can't tell you how many inmates we have that are mental health isolation because they can't be in general population. We're actually we run out of cells because we don't have enough space to put these people in. So it's very important that we talk to our delegates. We can go, we as Sheriff's Office, we can go talk to our delegates and try to get some mental health stuff, try to get some legislation passed, maybe help them come up with some bills that might help us out. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
De-escalation is a touchy subject because we want it to work, right? We want to get on the call, get on the situation, and have officers talk somebody down. But we got to train them to be able to do that first and to put them in those situations. So I agree. I think we do a lot of scenario-based training where you may stress officers and then they have to make a split second where it's not a deadly force situation, right? The person is just standing in the hallway and they're screaming for help. I think we get better at that because we push officers to go through training so when they're out in real life scenarios that you don't get into use of force because of somebody's in a mental health crisis. The other downside too is a lot of times those people dictate what tactics we use and how the outcome becomes. We want a positive resolve in those situations. I do think mental health is getting better because we have a co-responder program where we have a clinician riding with an officer. So when we get those calls, they respond to those locations and they make contact with the person. And I really think that's really taken off. The thing I want to stress is de-escalation is very important in that training, but it's also we got to understand we don't pay our officers to get hurt or our deputies to get hurt, right? I just come from a funeral that I'm pretty sure that guy might have been going through some mental crisis stuff. I don't know. But at the end of the day, we want the positive resolve, but I don't want my deputies going out here getting hurt by taking too much time to try to talk to somebody that may be in their house plotting to get a gun because we're in their environment. So we got to put people through training so they know when de-escalation is going to work, when it's not. Like I said, clear policy and procedure, and get a supervisor on scene, come out with a hostage negotiator if that's the case. And then the other part of it, when it is a positive resolve, I think we're better if we can get them the correct help they need, and maybe local. I don't think you can knock it down to one specific person. I think you need to go case by case. Some people may benefit by going local to outpatient stuff. Somebody severe might need to go statewide with it. But I do think partnering with mental health groups and getting like CIT training for our officers, crisis intervention training, is huge. And we do that. Most of our officers at Christiansburg are certified in crisis intervention. So then the other thing, it does go back to training, right? Like you got to learn how to talk to people, right? You can't push the issue. And I think sometimes when you have lack of training, you may be pushing somebody that doesn't need that break to be on them. And I think that's where it comes back to being compassionate and being able to treat people the way you want to be treated, because we're meeting people all the time somebody's got on them. And real quick, I do want to touch on mental health on officers. That is huge. When I first got in this profession, if you went and worked a bad wreck or almost got in a deadly force situation, you go to your supervisor, they pretty much just want you to, what's wrong with you? That's part of the job, right? But I think you have to be a leader now, and I'll be the type of sheriff that I want my guys and my girls to know that it's okay to not be okay sometimes. For me as sheriff, for me to send people out to your community or to houses, I got to make sure my deputies are healthy. You know, the call before might have been stressful. And a lot of times you got to build, oh, you stopped me. All right. I'm really passionate about that, so I was going to get on a tangent.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so de-escalation is about training. There's actually two parts to this. So the training is the first part, and you build it with a layered approach. So you start with the basic training of crisis intervention training. This is taught by the Community Service Board. It is specifically about mental health. So you have that base layer of that initial training on how to de-escalate someone in a mental health crisis, but then you have to reinforce it regularly with sustained training. So the Sheriff's Office does department-wide training twice a year. And it's typically about use of force type training. And the de-escalation component needs to be part of that. We do scenario type training. So the scenario type training, we hand our officer a pistol that's a blue gun and it shoots paint bullets. And we'll build scenarios around whatever things the firearms instructors feel like we need to cover. A lot of times those are shoot scenarios because we're limited on our training time. So instead of doing all shoot scenarios, you've got to make sure we're adding in those scenarios of de-escalation. We need to be able to have a scenario where we're talking people down successfully, and we can build branching versions of those things. But that's the biggest part because you're doing this regularly. The Sheriff's Office schedule, they work on 12-hour shifts. Just built into that schedule is automatically 4 hours that a deputy usually takes off. It's just the way the schedules work. So instead of having them take off, we bring them together for shift training. So every month you're getting a 4-hour block of training for all of your personnel that are on patrol. And so that gives you the chance to do some of these scenario-based trainings to where we can do specifically de-escalation training. We can do other types of training, but we're making sure we're hitting those key topic areas that make sure that we're covering what the public needs us to do. The other part of it is tactics. So if we build our tactics in a way that limits the exposure that a deputy has to a dangerous environment, then we're all better off. The deputy's better off and the public is better off. We can bring the co-responder program is a huge thing because it brings expertise. This is their job. That co-responder is an expert at talking to people in mental health crisis. So why wouldn't we have that person have that conversation with a person in mental health crisis instead of a deputy who is an expert in so many other things, but not specifically the mental health? There's a danger aspect to that. So we use technology to make sure that we make a safe separation between the co-responder and the person in crisis. So if a person in crisis is armed with a firearm, there's technology out there that we can have a robot respond to that. How? The deputy responds, but the robot actually makes the approach, and it's built in with a cell phone. And now that co-responder can talk to the person in crisis over the cell phone. We build those tactics to try and prevent that direct clash of danger for the law enforcement person, and we're still providing that service to the person that needs help.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go to the next question now, okay? We'll start with you, Mr. Warden. State law already requires sheriffs to collect, report, and post data about policing activities. Do you feel that this data collection is serving its intended purposes?
I think we've come a long way since I first started in '04. I think we've come a long way with how dispatchers get information, how we get information. It's practically night and day. I think it has really amped up in the last few years. Could it get better? Absolutely. In any situation in law enforcement, you always want to get better. I do feel that it is that we are getting good quality information. We can always add more things. My suggestion is, and I know as far as like I said, I worked the jail. I do know some road stuff, but when we book somebody in, we put the actual address of where the offense occurred. That way, we can give that information to our CAD, to our dispatchers, so that way we can get more information of where things actually happened. I fully believe that it's really good right now, but it can get better. And with my assistance, we will get with dispatch and the supervisors and go to other jurisdictions and see how they also collect reports and things and get them situated to where it gets better for us as well. Maybe something that they have would work with us as well. So,
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
It's me again. Yeah, that's me. I'm sorry. So real quick, when we talk about like data, one of the things I think is huge if you have a strong crime analysis person or clerical, so they can pull numbers, pull reports, look at crime trends, and then you could supply that data back out to the public. So if there's a spike in like shoplifting, why would I have my deputies like not or in that area or investigators looking in that area and enforcing based on what crime trends and what the data shows us? I'm huge in data. I think you can do predictive policing by looking at data and trends. There's programs that when you put the information in your reports and your B&Es, they can almost track it down to the day and time when your next particular or B&E may occur. You're breaking and entering, or when your next larceny. We have a crime analysis at our department. Blacksburg does it. They supply that data out so we can look at it. The other important part about looking at that data, it helps drive resources, right? So when if you're having spikes in drugs in a certain area, you can use your resources wisely and put your narcotics personnel and your investigators in that location and kind of head that problem off. And then if you're tracking other trends like speeding or DUIs, between a certain time, say most of your DUIs are happening between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m., then when you're doing enforcement in those areas, you can look at those trends, and that's when you can do your DUI enforcement and try to hit those areas to keep those cars and those people off the highway, so you cut down on accidents. Same thing with accidents. If you're having a high volume of accidents, that's probably where you need to put your enforcement if they're all based off of speed. So you want to do your speed enforcement. So I really think police departments are going more toward data-driven approach. That's another one of my platforms as sheriff, because I think budgets are tight right now, and you got to do more with less, and you got to be smart about it. And I think when you have a good, solid crime analysis person to supply you that data, then you can answer the questions for the board of supervisors. They ask you why you're asking for more deputies if the comp board won't give them to you, or if you need DUI grant funding to do enforcement. That's the reason why you're asking for it, because you got the numbers to back it up. And then it helps with being transparent, right? If people want to know why they're seeing a high influx of officers in a certain area, you can say it's because these trends are happening between this date and time. And you can actually get out in front of it and tell people, hey, you're going to see more officer present in this area because of these things. And I think that's another way how you build public trust is by backing it up with data. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hertling?
Yeah, thank you. So the data collection part is very important because we can, just like Tim was talking about, using those crime analysis tools to be able to kind of predict where we need to be. It helps with traffic enforcement so that we know we want to, our plan is to, or our goal is to reduce the number of crashes. So we're going to do the traffic enforcement where the crashes happen so we can reduce that. We can reduce those numbers definitely. But let's talk about the really important thing, all right? So let's talk about flock cameras. So the sheriff's office has, I apologize, I retired 2 years ago, so if this number changed, it may have. When I was at the sheriff's office, we had 3 static flock cameras. We had one that was a mobile flock camera. So if you're not familiar with flock, they're essentially license plate readers, but they take pictures of the cars as they drive by, and they take pictures of every vehicle that drives by. So if you look at that on its face, there are serious privacy concerns there, no doubt, all right? So how do you make sure that data that is vital, it is a proven useful tool to solving crime. How do you make sure that that's not being abused, right? And that comes down to good policies. And it comes down to restricting access. So you want to restrict access to that data to the people that actually need it. So keep that circle small. So if you have your flock data and you authorize your lieutenants on patrol, because they're the patrol people are typically the ones that are using it the most, and some in investigations too. So if you limit your circle to the 4 patrol lieutenants and maybe the investigations lieutenant have access to the flock data, that makes it much, much easier to audit those records. And you audit those records every month. And you go through and you look to see what is being looked up, and it's tied to a case number because we have a criminal incident we're investigating, and that's why we're looking at the data. That's the purpose for having those cameras. So we audit that data every month, and it does great if we audit it, but we don't tell anybody, it does nothing for you. So we need to be transparent about that, and we need to post those audits. The sheriff's office website is the most underutilized tool we have. There is absolutely no reason we can't place those audits on our website every single month when we do an audit. All right, we have somebody that's not affiliated with the flock system, but they can go through and do the audits and compare that the searches are actually tied to a real case that we are really investigating. And that's the only way you can be sure it's being used correctly, right? Along with that, we would need to be, I feel like we need to be putting out data on the calls for service we're answering. There is no reason that we can't be putting out all of our call for service data on that website. There is no reason for that other than it just takes effort and we just need to go out and do it. But it's important to you. And because it's important to you, it's also important to me. So I want to make sure we're fulfilling those needs that you have so that we're taking care of our community as a whole.
Thank you.
Going back to the original question about data collection and then dissemination, do I think the sheriff's office itself right now is doing a good job? Yes, I do. Because they have nothing to lose by doing that. You know, showing that there is a need, that there is a problem is only going to help the sheriff's office to show that we need the deputies. We need the manpower to handle this. So I don't think they would shortchange it on the sheriff's office side. Now, I think maybe certain jurisdictions may, and I'm not throwing any of them under the bus, but, you know, does Virginia Tech or Radford or Roanoke College, do they want to show that they have a problem around their area? No, they don't want people to see that this college has X amount of rapes or something like that. I'm not saying they fudge the numbers, but, you know, I think everybody's done a better job of not changing a case that probably needed a report to something that they just not swept under the rug, but classified it as something else. I've never seen that problem in the sheriff's office. I have not seen that problem because the sheriff, if he shows that there's issues and that they are combating it, but they need more people, he's going to be standing right here in front of this board of supervisors going, I need more manpower. I need more manpower to combat this because of this, and this. So I think the sheriff's office has been doing a great job on it. I think they're going to continue to do a great job on it, and I hope they do with any of us as sheriff because I think they're doing a good job right now with it. Data collection. Ed touched on flock. I'm not a fan. 2017, this came out, this new technology. I do not like the way it's been marketed. You know, right now, you can read about the fact that it can be used by homeowners. It can be used by businesses. You know, who is getting access to this information? Ultimately, you know, I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the amendments. All right? So, you know, your Fourth Amendment right, I think, may be violated by these cameras. So if the sheriff's office doesn't have an active contract with them, I would get rid of them. I would. Because what's the difference between going ahead and getting CCTVs and getting recording that you see in every business nowadays? You go to my hospital, we're recording. It's recorded over after X amount of hours or days or whatever. That can be accessed by someone who has access to that camera system, not an AI program that can be accessed by someone else that we don't even know. So if it was for me, I'm going to fall back to my amendments, my Constitution, and I'm going to get rid of them. You know, if we don't have a contract where I have to honor that contract, they're gone for me, just to let everyone know.
Okay, thank you. So the next question, and we'll start with you, Mr. Brown, this question. What is your stance on adopting newer technologies? We've touched into this, but drones for research and rescue, license plate readers, automatic ticketing, electronic evidence management, and so on. How will you address privacy concerns, which you just raised?
Let's start with flock, for instance. There is a lot of concern that violates people's rights because people want to know what's going on with the data. Ed's touched on that there's regular audits on the flock cameras. My stance on the flock cameras is when a kid goes missing, everybody wants the sheriff's office to do whatever they can do possible to find that person that took the kid. So flock cameras, you're able, when you go in and say that the suspect left in a black car, you can go in the flock and type in a black car, and Ed contest to this, and it'll pop up every black car, right? In the area that you last seen this kid. And when that's the case, people cheer you on. They won't flock, and it's good. But the everyday person is worried about their rights, and I think that's where the audits come in and protect that people's information aren't just getting used and abused and out there, because you have to have a case number when you put it in. You have to have a reason when you put that tag in or the description of that car. It has to be, and they're tightening up on that, and that information gets purged after so often. I think it's how you combat that is you educate people when they ask about it. You tell them, hey, it's purged in 2 weeks. If there's no active cases, it just rolls off. And I think that's the part that everything you read on the internet is not true, but I do think we need to do a better job of being transparent and letting people know how we're using that resources. Now, when it comes to drones, that's huge, because like I was on an attack team years ago, and we would go and set up a perimeter, but you couldn't really see around the house for safety. With these drones, you can go up above the house. You can be above them. As Ed said, they make robots. You can, if you have somebody in the house, they got drones that'll fly inside the house. I would much rather a drone get broken or destroyed than have a deputy hurt. So I'm huge on technology. It's another thing with the schools that I would push to with the schools is they have Halo cameras. It's a program, and with those Halo cameras, it recognizes when somebody says help. It recognizes when somebody is loitering in the hallway. It recognizes gunshots. So if those are in the schools, you just improved school safety. You know, if somebody's outside loitering around the schools, that's a concern. The SRO could get alerted from it just from a camera. And I mean, we were moving to an era where AI technology is just every day. I mean, everybody uses ChatGPT now, it seems like. But I do think the benefits of technology, we have to advance. But I think when you advance and you don't educate people, there's concerns, and they're legitimate. But I do think when we're out here fighting crime or trying to keep people safe, the flock cameras are huge. We solve a lot of crime or develop leads on flock cameras. So there you go.
Yeah, I think it's important to make sure that the technology you're adopting is mature. I went to a class recently and they were talking about technology trends in law enforcement. And one of the examples they gave was it was a self-driving police car. So there's no law enforcement officer inside that car. And they use it more for like a community presence type thing. And then we, the question, of course, in the class is, well, how much does something like that cost? Well, it costs 3 times the amount of a patrol car. Is that a good use of funds? If someone has an emergency and they come and run out, and they see the police car and they run over the police car and there's no one in there, it's not really helpful, right? So you got to make sure it's mature and you make sure that it's effective for the problem you want to address. So an example of technology I've introduced to the sheriff's office. As part of my captain duty, I was a SWAT team member for 20 years. And as captain, I was also commander of the SWAT team. So I saw where we were doing fully dynamic entry, very dangerous, very high speed stuff to secure a structure. I wanted to take that team from a dynamic entry model to a surrounded call out model. So essentially what we're doing is we're surrounding a house we have a search warrant for. We're using negotiators to call them out. And then once they're done, once they've come out, then we go in and search the house. The problem, of course, is, well, what happens if the guy just hides in there and arms himself and now he's waiting to ambush you? So what we did was we introduced a small robot. It was not very expensive. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was expensive, but it wasn't, you say robot, you're like, oh my God, there's no way we can afford this. We could afford it, all right? And so we introduced this into our standard operating procedures. And so now after the people come out, we ask them, is there anyone else in the house? They say no. We drop the robot in, we drive it around, make sure there's nobody waiting there to ambush us. So we no longer have that risk of us running through the house quickly to secure it. We know there's nobody in there to ambush us because we just drove the robot through and checked, right? And so that creates that safe distance to be able to make decisions without being under pressure. And that's one of the great things that technology is for, right? We can create those buffer zones so that we're not having to make rapid decisions that may turn out to be wrong, and then someone dies from that decision, right? That's where technology really shines. And we do that. We look at different agencies that are using similar technology. We see what their uses have been, what their problems they've encountered, including like the drone things, the robot things, and any real program that you're running. So the sheriff's office did a program where we used, we added in ballistic panels, sensors into our ballistic panels to see if a deputy was shot, it would alert dispatch. It sounds great on paper. We were like one of the first agencies to get it, and we dealt with false alarm after false alarm after false alarm. The technology wasn't mature. And we spent a lot of money on something that really didn't help us.
I fully agree with the use of new technology, new proven technology. Drones, outstanding. Thermal imaging, outstanding. From what I've read, so don't quote me on this, but this individual that shot our Carroll County deputy, I think, was found with a thermal drone. Outstanding. He was spotted on trail cams. Outstanding. This is the use of technology we need. If I can put a drone up with thermal imaging and find a dementia patient in the woods, that's a win for everyone. Outstanding use of new technology. Flock cameras. I do not like them. I think that if I yanked down the flock cameras and put CCTV, just video recording cameras up there, if we have an incident, we can have deputies look at the footage that will be rewrote over X amount of days or hours or whatever it is, to where if it's such a big incident, we should be able to have the manpower to do that. And what we pay for that AI technology, heaven knows how many of the CCTV, just video recording, that we could afford. Because I assume there's a contract there. So for me, I understand new technology, and I am fully appreciative of new technology. But let's not delve into things that are going to violate your rights. And that is my concern. What I've heard is it's been instigated for several years, and I've only seen or heard of 32 documented incidents that the sheriff's office used their 4 cameras. That's the last time I heard. So if you want to do a cost analysis, if those 32 incidents, what did it cost per incident that we could have done? And for that money, how many cameras could we have put up? Traditional cameras that we could have used. So I'm not an opponent of new technology, but I want new, proven technology that is really law enforcement directed, that we will deal with, not someone that can be accessed by, like I said earlier, homeowners associations, by shopping centers. You know, they have touted that, and I do not believe in that. So it's my done.
Okay.
I'm all for technology. Like I'm with Tim. I think it has to be legit. Flight cameras I don't like. If I think businesses need to upgrade their systems to help us solve the crimes. Your homes will help you solve the crimes if you have the proper technology. Our schools, our colleges, they need to amp up, and we need to get some cameras for them because we had the Virginia Tech shootings. We've had school shootings all over the United States, and this would help us tremendously if we have cameras in spots. Especially with Virginia Tech and places like that, there's a lot of blind spots, a lot of dark spots. Cameras would definitely help better there. On the streets, downtown, certain spots that are high trafficked, high areas that are available for possible crimes, I think we need to have them there. The technology I worry about is our deputies out in rural county. I think we could get a grant for Starlink that we can put that type of technology in our squad cars. That way we can communicate, and they would have cell service and things, especially if something would to go down. This would act as another tool to help with getting them back up or to just to get information to dispatch. So I think we need that. Drones, fantastic. I've seen them work. I've seen them in all types of scenarios, and they're a great tool. Any technology that we can use to better the county, better you guys, would be okay with me. But flight cameras, I'm with Tim on that one. I don't agree with them. I think they do violate your rights. So, thank you.
That concludes the 5 questions that we had planned. I'm wondering if these kind of would work in real life scenarios as well, not just here. This is. Thank you for all those answers, and to the candidates. We're going to go on to audience questions now. For the planned questions, the candidates were given 3 minutes for a response, a little longer, so you didn't get cut off in the middle of a thought. For the audience questions, we're going to bump that down to 1 to 2 minutes to maybe get through a little bit more. It's about 7:30 now, so we have 30 more minutes, so we'll try and get through as many questions as we have.
Okay, and the way we're going to attempt to do this is to go alphabetical as we have been going.
I believe we're at Mr. Hertling.
Okay, yes. And the first question I have here is about the DARE program in the schools. The improved DARE program in the schools, are they helping the drug problem in our county since we have a huge opioid problem?
Yeah, so it's hard to measure that metric, right? If we stop doing DARE, will drug use spiral up? You know, and I don't know. The DARE program, I think, is an excellent tool for the deputies, the SROs, to get in front of the kids. and have dedicated time to be able to build that relationship. And they're teaching them on something that they need to know. They legitimately need to know what kind of drugs are out there, what things that they need to do when they encounter those drugs, and how to handle those things. But that helps really build that relationship, right? If they're out in front of there doing instruction for the kids, that gives them face time. And it may not be one-on-one face time, but it gives them that introduction for a lot of these kids. And each time they teach that DARE class, it may be a different DARE class as they go through their school careers. They may get that class from different instructors, different deputies who are teaching those things. So I think it's a valuable tool. I think it's worth continuing. I can't speak to how effective it is with reducing the drug use, but I think it has a whole other group of things that make it better.
I don't have anything wrong with the DARE program. My big issue is it hasn't really been updated in 20, 30 years, and I really think they need to look at a new way, a new approach with the new technology that they have. I don't know what that'll be. I really don't. I mean, I can't tell you. But I think you have to constantly evolve. And I think looking at the DARE program, even if it's on a Montgomery County level, and trying a new approach is perfectly acceptable. We have no idea what we can send to in this area, but let's try. I'm not saying the DARE program is bad. I'm just saying we do not know what could be implemented in addition to. So I would love to see some innovative approaches here to really update an outdated system that they've been using. Don't do drugs. It's not, it's the 80s approach, and I think we need an update. So.
I'm the same with Tim. I think it's outdated. I know the reason why I got into law enforcement was from my DARE officers. I hope they're watching tonight. I still remember them both. And we still need to teach these kids. We have a lot of new tools that they do the alcohol glasses, and they bring the poster in and shows all the drugs and things that we have. But it's very, very, very outdated. And with all the new stuff, they need to know about it too. The problem we have now is a lot of the kids are doing prescription drugs, Adderall things. Not calling any tech kids out, but that's all they talk about. Sometimes I try not to say anything, but that's all you hear. So I think it needs to include not only illegal drugs, but also prescription drugs that they're starting to get their hands on. But like I said, the DARE program is very, very useful. I think we need to come up with different approaches on how to teach our kids to get off drugs and to stay off the drugs. I know Nancy Reagan's the one that started it, and I think it's a fantastic program still to this day. And I appreciate her introducing that, because in the 80s we had a big problem, and guess what? History repeats itself. We now have still a drug problem. So DARE program is very good, but we need to update it.
Okay, Mr. Brown?
I feel like the DARE program is positive. We're impacting kids at an early age. We're breaking down the barriers, as Ed Hertling said. We're putting our SROs out in front of these kids. I think, like I said, it goes back to the top, right? Like, what are your initiatives as sheriff? My sheriff is, I want to impact people and also impact our youth. And we have to take that opportunity, and the DARE program gives us a platform, but it's also selecting the right the right SRO officers, school resource officers, and putting them the right people in the schools that are passionate about that, so they can break that barrier. A lot of kids, that's the only positive interaction they get, is with the DARE officer or with the SRO officer. A lot of them are going to broken homes. They're seeing stuff in their homes. When we're doing narcotics investigations, we do search warrants, and you're talking to a 6-year-old, and they're they telling you how mommy and daddy make their meth. And then they're coming to school. And then who do they trust, right? You need to put a good school resource officer in, and the DARE program gives them that platform to break that barrier and talk to those kids. And I'm just a firm believer. It may be outdated. It might need to be updated, but we have to take every opportunity to approach our youth at an early age and do some intervention and help them. And I'm just really passionate about that as well.
Okay, thank you. And the next question, we'll start with you, Mr. Shepherd. This is a short one. How does your political affiliation affect the job you will do?
That's an easy answer. I hope not at all. I mean, I'm here for the citizens of Montgomery County. You know, I've told everybody when I go to the GOP meeting that I want to be a unifier. You know, and I hope that's not upsetting anyone because that is my goal. I want to be the person that brings the entire citizens together. So I'm hoping not at all. I mean, if I had my way, we'd all be running as independents and we'd all be on the ticket November 3rd. If I had my way, and let the best man win, who you think is the most capable of taking the job January 1st. So there you go.
Okay, Mr. Warden?
So I'm about as straight down the line as it can be. I know I got a D beside my name, but my personal belief, if you have an R or an I or a D, you need to get rid of politics. I'm not going to look at it that way. I know I'm up here running as a politician, but I'm not a politician. I'm a fair man. I do a lot of stuff that helps people, give shirt off my back. And that's the way I would run it. That's the way I do things. And it doesn't matter what affiliation you are. As sheriff, you have to be that person for everybody. And that's what I'll be.
Brian?
I think it comes down to your core. And I don't feel like politics or being Republican or Democrat really comes down to law enforcement. We have to be impartial. We have to treat people as human beings. We have to go out here and preserve life and with putting our life on the line. And politics is not going to affect me as a sheriff. I'm going to try to do what's right and always be out in front and support my people and be engaged in with the community and listen to the community, regardless if you're Republican or Democrat.
Yeah, it's really not about politics doing the job. So you're doing, right now, the election cycle is just a really long job interview. And you're hiring someone to be your sheriff, someone to be your law enforcement leader. If you're hiring someone to be sheriff, if you're hiring a law enforcement leader, you want them to do the job, right? And the job is enforcing the law. And there's no magic to it, right? If the law is written out, we enforce that, right? That's all there is to it. So as far as politics go, it may be a slight difference in priorities, but it's all about enforcing the law, and that's what we're all here to do.
Thank you. Okay, the next question, and we'll start with you, Mr. Warden. What would the department's response be if asked by ICE to assist?
ICE is a very, very, very touchy subject with everybody. My goal would be to try to get to them before they get to us. If we can do programs and things that have programs lined up that we can get people who are illegal to them to help them try to get their citizenship, try to get them to before they come to us. As far as cooperating with ICE, the only thing I've seen as far as working in the jail is they bring them to us. We have to run what's called an ICE query on them, even if they're misdemeanor or felons. But once again, they come to us. So if the federal government decides to put something on them, we have to hold them. And then after that, they have 72 hours to pick them up and do what they need to do. They do have civil process. They are able to go and have a hearing and things like that. It is done very humanely. As far as helping out with ICE, around here we really don't have too much of an issue. I've seen a little bit, but nothing crazy. There are a lot of good people around here. and there's also a lot of bad ones. And that's what we do. We take the bad ones out and hopefully try to help the good ones. That's my stance on ICE. I mean, we got to be fair to these people. They deserve a chance. We need to get the bad ones out, yes, but the good ones, we need to try to get them help to be able to stay or to be able to get their visas, to be able to help us. So that's my take on ICE.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
Cooperating with ICE is touchy, right? So if you have somebody that's on ICE detainer and they're wanted, say out of Washington State for murder, and they're in Montgomery County, I feel like as sheriff, I have an obligation to get that person out of this county and back to where they're facing prosecution. And I have to use ICE to do it, I'm gonna do it. But I'm gonna tell you a story about what happened to my family with ICE. My cousin was married to a guy that was here illegal. They had 2 kids together. He got stopped for speeding, and they deported him. We ain't into breaking up families if I'm the sheriff of Montgomery County. He was deported for 3 years. And then it takes him 3 years to get back here, illegal again, to see his kids. Well, as most couples do, they get in an argument. And anyway, fear of being deported again, he runs down to my uncle's barn and he hangs himself. I do not support breaking up families. I piggyback with what Greg said. I do think there's legislation that we could push to get, to make it an easier process for getting people citizenship. But I am not into assisting ICE in breaking up families. But I do feel like as sheriff of Montgomery County, I have an obligation to keep this community safe. And if there are violent people here and you don't cooperate with ICE and they don't tell me that violent people are here and we don't do stuff to get them out of our community, I think I'm putting people's lives in jeopardy. But I am not into breaking up families, and I think that's the touchy thing with ICE. I just do not agree with just targeting somebody simply because they're here without citizenship. If they're violating a crime and they're convicted and they're violent, they shouldn't be in our community. And that goes for even people that are that have citizenship. If they're violent and they're convicted of being violent, they shouldn't be here. They should be incarcerated. Thank you.
Yeah, so my campaign priority is building relationships in the community. And from what I have seen, that's not what ICE's priority is. I'm going to give you an example. So in my 27 years in law enforcement, I spent 20 years in investigations working major felony cases. One of my cases was an armed robbery. So we had 2 people that were in the country illegally, put on ski masks, went into a coin laundry, and robbed a woman using a shotgun, stole $11 in quarters from her. Some outstanding patrol work. The deputies were able to identify the vehicle, got a search warrant for the house. It was my case. I came out. We recovered 2 ski masks. We recovered $11 in quarters. I interviewed the suspects, and I got a confession from one of them. This was going to be a conviction, no doubt about it, all right? And so not long after arresting the suspects, both in the country illegally, I get a call from the Commonwealth attorney that you don't need to come to court on this case anymore. And I'm well, what happened? And they said, ICE has come in and they've taken this guy and deported him, or these guys and deported them. So my problem is I've got a victim. I'm about victims first. I've got a victim that had something terrible happen to them and they don't get any justice because ICE came and took them out of the country. These guys should have stood trial. They should have been in prison for 10 years, but instead they got deported to a Latin American country where who knows what they're hanging out on the beach. I don't know what they're doing, right? So they're free, right? That's the problem with automatically following those ICE detainers, right? It's a dangerous precedent to not enforce the laws that you have here when that's our responsibility. That's my responsibility, keep the county safe. But if we're sending people out that need to be in prison, that's a problem for me. I will not join ICE detainer, or I'm sorry, I will not join the cooperative agreements with ICE. And you have my word on that.
This is such a broad spectrum. Would you assist ICE? there's many components to it, As Ed said, these cooperative agreements, this 287 program, I don't know if any of you have researched it. We will not join that. And the problems with that is, what you don't seem to realize, or some people don't seem to realize is the moment you sign up with that 287 program through the federal program, your deputies have to be shipped out of Montgomery County to get trained for several months. And then, once they come back and they've received that training, if they come and say, we're going to go hit a farm in Floyd, you have to send them with them. So for me, I don't think that it's feasible to send these deputies out of Montgomery County, and they're not assisting the community of Montgomery County. So I wholeheartedly agree that I'm not signing any 287 program. But as the sheriff, if they say they have someone that's in our jail and they want them, I'm going to let them have them. I'm not going to impede federal laws. And the reason being is I'm not going to stop them because I can't stop you from getting that information. If you call me right now and say, this person is in our jail, and we go, yes, when is he getting released? We tell you. I can tell you that information. Why would I stop giving that information to a federal government? So, as I said, this is a broad spectrum as far as would you assist ICE? Well, I've split it up. No on this instance. Yes on this instance. Because I'm not going to impede a federal law enforcement agency doing their job. Now, like I said, am I going to assist them in some of the maneuvers that will not benefit the citizens of Montgomery County? Yes, I will stop that wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next question, start you, Mr. Brown. What are your feelings about SROs at school? How are you going to make sure everyone is trained properly? And I won't read the rest of the question because it's kind of confusing, so I'll leave at that.
I feel like we do need the SROs in the school and to maintain them in the schools. There's SRO trainings that they go to get certified as SRO. Then there's advanced training that you can go as SRO. And putting them in the schools that's something that I'm going to maintain as sheriff.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely support the SRO program. I think I've made that clear on other questions. As far as the training goes with SROs, you get your basic training with SRO as being an SRO, and then you build your experience actually being in the schools working with the kids. But they have summers off, right? So the schools aren't there for the summer. So what do you do with those folks when they're off from school? That's prime training time. Right? You've got a couple months there where you can do intensive training with these folks. You can do the de-escalation training. You can do specialized juvenile law training. You can cover all these different topics. And a longtime SRO is going to have seen a lot of this stuff, but a lot of them, it's good to have that refresher. You want to make sure you're constantly going over the basics of how to do what can be a complicated job. And you build that training portfolio out. So that the guys and girls can be effective at what they're doing.
As I said earlier when I was talking about SROs, I've seen a huge shift. It is not that retired on duty job anymore. We have taken a better approach to that in Montgomery County, and I applaud our whole law enforcement community in that. I would build on that. Like Ed said, though, over the summers, what do? They get shifted to other places. Where are we going to put them here? Are they going in civil process? Are they going out on the road? Well, you know what? School programs don't stop over the summer. They still have softball games, softball tournaments. As I said earlier, let's get these SROs out still doing the community engagement. And that is the positive response that we want to have. If I have to pay a deputy to still do his job as an SRO and interact with students in a positive manner, I don't have a problem with that. Because as I've seen, hey, school just got out on May 25th. What are we doing with John Doe who's, needs his 40 hours next week? Let's give him still a student-based program. And if he's at softball tournaments on the weekends, or if he's at swim meets down at the rec center, he is still a positive influence on our students that they know him. They see him in the schools. So that's kind of my thought.
I think there should be a school resource officer in every Montgomery County school. Christiansburg, Blacksburg, every one of them. They're very important. Training-wise, I think that we need to have a little more training with kids with disabilities, kids who have a little bit more troubled youth. Because a lot of kids, I know Montgomery County and surrounding counties also have a lot of people with foster parents, and they have a lot of issues. I think we need to get some more training with that. I think in high schools you should have multiple school resource officers, middle schools as well. I know our middle schools are rough, and we need more of them. Just to help out the teachers. The teachers are doing a fantastic job. They do tirelessly countless things with our kids, so we need to be supportive of them, and that's what the school resource officer is supposed to do. We're supposed to help out and be a part of a team, and I think that we're doing a great job as far as teacher-wise. We just need to put more school resource officers in there and get them some better training as well. They have great training now, but we need to advance it. We need to better it. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go to the next question, I think. And Mr. Hertling, are you familiar with Leads Online? And do you plan to install it at the sheriff's office to aid in crime solution?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Leads Online. For those of you that don't know that system, it's a really good system where you can get your pawn shops to and different places that buy things back. So like if you sell a cell phone at an Eco ATM station, all these places report what they take in to Leads Online. So it's a private company. And then you can search the data that they're sending in. So if I've got a larceny, let's say somebody stole a fishing pole, I can go on Leads Online and say, who pawned a fishing pole? And it'll pop up any of the fishing poles in the last however long somebody had to pawn that. Really great tool. Solved a lot of cases with the tool. Very expensive tool. The sheriff's office ended up canceling their contract with Leads Online. I think it's too valuable to let it cancel. I think it's worth keeping. I would bring it back. So just so you're aware, the way pawn shops work, they're required by law to send those records to the law enforcement agency for the jurisdiction they're in. So it's nothing nefarious. We're stealing their records or anything like that. It's something that's normally done. And in the old days, it used to be when I had a case where something stolen, I would call all the pawn shops in Montgomery County, in Pulaski County, in Roanoke County, and all around. And it takes time. I would spend hours calling pawn shops. Hey, can you run this name through your system? Hey, can you run this name through your system? Leads Online does it in like 10 seconds. So it's a huge time saver, and the information you get out of it is excellent.
I'm familiar with it also because we used it at Salem, and I didn't have access to it on a patrol level, but it was easy for me to go up to an investigator and go, would you look at this? And my last instance of that, air compressor stolen out of one of the hardware stores, and it showed up at that pawn shop within 30, 45 minutes. The investigator called me and goes, hey, just to let you know, it's over there on Brambleton Avenue in Roanoke. And, they gave us the ability to go over there and leave Salem, go check it, pull it out, get that gentleman's ID. So it's an excellent system. I didn't know if the sheriff's office still had it, but it is a valuable tool. And it should be evaluated to possibly be put into the sheriff's office if it's not using it right now.
Okay, Mr. Warden.
I knew of it a little bit through. I know when I talk with investigators that I've heard them use it. I think it's a great tool. I didn't know our contract was out. I think it would be important to get it back just to help out with investigations and help the public get their stuff back if that's the case. So I'm all for that.
I support Leads Online. A lot of people go out here and you work hard for your money. Someone steals from you. We need to take every possibility, every chance we can to get your property back to you. When I was supervising investigations for Christiansburg, our detectives used it. They got good leads on it. We're able to get property returned back to people. And I'm a big supporter of Leads Online. And I would try to do my very best to make sure the sheriff's office was able to get it back within reasons of their budget.
Okay.
So we're at about 8 o'clock right now. We're going to give the candidates an opportunity for a closing, which is about 2 minutes apiece. And then,
You want to start, Mr. Brown?
we can work in reverse order since we started alphabetically. We'll do reverse.
Folks, I'd like to thank you guys for coming out and giving us these good questions. It's time that we all share, we've all shared our beliefs, our visions, how we would run things. Now the decision is yours. You guys are the voters. You must choose the best candidate who possesses a work ethic, dedication, knowledge, integrity, fairness, and openness necessary to serve this county. You must choose between the person who will listen to citizens, change the culture of the sheriff's office where needed, and to continue building an organization that serves everyone with professionalism and respect. You deserve a leader who can earn your trust, implement the right processes, and continue to move this office forward. You deserve someone who will demonstrate through action that you made the right choice. Other jurisdictions will be watching as we work together to strengthen partnerships, make a positive difference, and support one another serving our communities. This election is not about Republicans or Democrat. It's about coming together as one community. It's about upholding the Constitution, protecting our children, supporting the elderly, caring for staff, serving our friends and families, and helping those incarcerated become better citizens. I am prepared to lead. I'm committed to working hard every day, representing you with honor, and listening to your concerns. I believe I'm the best choice to serve as the next sheriff in Montgomery County, and I respectfully ask for your vote and support. Thank you for the thoughtfulness questions of the evening, and thank you for everyone who attended and participated in this town hall. I'd also like to thank my fellow candidates, many of them who I've known and respected for many years. I'm grateful to the sponsors of this organization who made this event possible, and for all the hard work that has went into making this night a success. Finally, I want to thank my family, my friends, my supporters for their wavering love and encouragement through this journey. No matter what happens, I will continue to serve, protect, and stand up for what's right and what's fair. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Mrs. Brown.
Well, everybody, thank you for coming out here, dedicating your Friday night to listen to us blather on. As you know, I have an election in 15 days, right here in this building. And I want to get everybody I can to come out. And I want you to be the most informed individual you can be. And I want you to ask one simple question. Who is the most prepared individual to take this sheriff's office on day one? Almost 30 years, I've dedicated my life to public service. All right? I've served in law enforcement. I've supervised deputies and officers. I've trained the future law enforcement officers. And I've not said this before, but it is on my website. I am a nationally certified EMT. For 7 years, I've worked part-time taking your friends, family members, loved ones with care and compassion on an ambulance for 7 years, in addition to my law enforcement. So I am very community-based, all right? As I said earlier, I am a United States Marine Corps veteran. I have served our country proudly, and I will put that out there to everyone, all right? This campaign is more about my background, though. It is more about what the future of Montgomery County needs. I believe in proactive policing. I very briefly got to touch on it tonight. look at my website, look and see what I put. I believe in supporting our deputies and giving them the tools and the training they need to succeed. I believe in expanding programs, as I've said, under my proactive approach, for canines. I want to start a tactical medic program, to where these people get here at accidents and assaults, and the deputy is not only helping with the citizens with a police function, but helping on a medical issue, all right? And I believe of our constitutional rights need to be protected, all right? The sheriff does not work for Richmond. The sheriff does not work for a political party. The sheriff works for you, all right? If elected, my loyalty will be to the Constitution and to the citizens of Montgomery County. I will work every day to earn your trust, protect your rights, support our deputies, and keep our community safe. I hope to see everybody and anybody on June 20th in this building. Thank you, and God bless.
Yeah, I think you've gotten a great look at your candidate pool here tonight. Me personally, I don't feel like I don't have questions about any of the character of the people that are running for sheriff here, right? The difference between us comes down to experience. So I have 27 years in law enforcement. I spent 8 of those as captain of investigations at the sheriff's office. I know the sheriff's office. I know the people in the county. I know the county government. I have project management experience. I headed up the construction of the shooting range that we moved from Blacksburg into Den Hill. I brought agencies together so that we had Blacksburg, Christiansburg, we had our academy in the sheriff's office, all working together to contribute funds to build a really good training center that all those agencies can use and train together on. I have budgeting experience. As part of that project management, making sure that we've got the funding to be able to cover those different projects that we want to do. Right? I headed up making sure we had enough funding to upgrade our body cameras. So I worked on that project. I worked on the range project. I've worked on buying the robot for the SWAT team. I've worked on an abundant number of different budgeting issues. And when the sheriff needed somebody that he can count on to take care of a major incident, it fell to me. I have in the field command experience. It was a regular incident or a regular practice for when we had something major and dangerous going on that I was running incident command on those incidents. I have handled incidents that had over 100 officers involved in it, right? And I've managed those incidents and made sure that everybody came home safe. So the bottom line really is about experience. Please take a real close look at who has experience and the quality of that experience, because that's the difference that separates us.
Being sheriff is about being resourceful and being able to have contacts, build relationships. I pride myself on having relationships across the state and globally because I attended the National Academy and I graduated Session 285. But tonight you've heard different ideas, different perspectives, different approaches to leadership. But at the end of the day, this election comes down to one important question. Who is best to lead the sheriff's office forward while earning and maintaining the trust of the people of Montgomery County? For 26 years, I've dedicated my career to serving this county with integrity, professionalism, and respect. I understand the challenges facing law enforcement today, and I also understand the importance of building strong relationships with the citizens we serve. I believe the sheriff's office should be transparent, community-focused, committed to treating every person fairly and with dignity. I believe supporting our deputies and staff, strengthening our school safety, working with community partners. I touched on this in some of the questions, a data-driven approach to enforcement and resource allocation. I also believe the sheriff's office can benefit from a fresh perspective. I'm the only one that hasn't worked at Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. I'm a certified assessor through the state, a master assessor. Go out and assess other departments, sheriff's offices. We do audits. Team leaders on assessment, you go in and you look at their the way they do their processes, how they write their policies, how they apply their policies. One of the things I want to do for Montgomery County, I want to raise the level of professionalism. I want to take them from state accreditation to national accreditation. Blacksburg Police Department's nationally accredited. Virginia Tech's nationally accredited. Rafford City just obtained national accreditation. Montgomery County has some of the best employees right here in your backyard. They deserve high standards. Y'all should demand high standards from the sheriff's office. Do not cut corners. We need strong policies, fair promotional processes, strong supervisors, strong training. That's what I bring to the table as sheriff. Most importantly, I believe leadership is about service, not ego, politics, division. My campaign is centered on one thing: service without sides. We had a question if you're Republican or Democrat or independent. There is no sides when you pick me as your sheriff. I would be honored to earn your trust, your support, and your vote for sheriff. I will lead with compassion and empathy, and I will care about our people and care about our community. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you again for all the candidates being here. I would just like to repeat something that I said at the beginning of this evening. Thank you, audience, for coming out tonight and watching at home and for being part of this conversation. Civic participation strengthens our community and democracy, and your presence tonight reflects that. Thank you, audience, also for your engagement here this evening and questions. This event was about the candidates and voters, first and foremost. I hope that sentiment was abundantly clear to everyone watching, here and at home. To repeat what candidate Shepard said, the Republican primary is June 20th in this building. The Democratic primary is August 4th, and that will be at the Office of Elections. Yep. And at this time, I ask that you all exit the boardroom so the lobby can be used for a while for personal discussions, so the candidates can meet you out in the lobby. But we need to return the boardroom back to the government team. So thank you again.
I would like to ask one question. Can you set this up September, October again?
Can you hear me? I absolutely love this event. This came from a passion from wanting to get candidates in front of voters. I would like to see an event at the government center for every single election.